Rahim. Uh, Welcome to another exciting discussion on our open forum. जिन लोगों को पता नहीं है उनको बता दूं कि open forum जो है overseas Pakistani exclusive network. Open is a premium group of overseas Pakistanis exclusive at leadership role. It facilitates knowledge sharing, community building, and networking where people can come together to make a difference. The aim is to enable environment for collaboration, growth, and innovation. We will have the same discussion topic as we had last time. वही एक तरह से तीन लोगों का पैनल है हमारे पैनलिस्ट हैं और हमारा एक स्पेसिफिक टॉपिक है. टॉपिक इज डाइवर्सिटी. We'll definitely learn about this topic from three of our panelists. Let me introduce you to our panelists. Dr. Saima. Dr. Saima, having head of psychological services and employee assistance in Emirates and Airlines, 20 years of experience of working with people to improve their quality of life. Very passionate about mental health and well-being, particularly workplace well-being. Welcome, Dr. Saima.
Thank you.
Then we have, thank you so much. So then we have Sohail Ali, SVP of Middle East and Africa operations for a major UK airlines, 15 years of experience, customer service or operations mein, and currently working across 17 countries across Middle East and Africa, managing a culturally diverse team of people. Welcome, Sohail.
Thank you, Ahmad. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And last not the least, Mr. Nauman Afsar. Nauman is in IT industry for over 22 years, managing and orchestrating growth across AMEA region for different vendor. Currently, he's a regional vice president for Oracle, very well aware of the regional dynamics in regards to digital transformation initiatives. Welcome, Nauman.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
So guys, you can see we have a very great panel और तीनों different roles हैं. HR से हैं हमारे पास, operations से हैं, sales से हैं. So let's try to find out, before we go in deep into the topic, let me start with Dr. Saima about this particular topic. And Dr. Saima, आपका क्या कहना है? What does diversify means to you, and what forms of diversify are represented in workplace, visible or invisible?
So diversity, अगर हम literal meaning Hamad लेते हैं diversity का, तो literal meaning तो difference है. So it's about the range of human differences, जिसमें आ जाती हैं हमारे आप gender जो है, socio-economic status जो है, आपके जो cultural background जो है, आपकी language जो है, आपकी upbringing, it's not limited to that. जब आप बात करते हैं, that's all diversity. In the workplace, diversity की definition is slightly different because we go beyond just recognizing जो individual differences हैं. So diversity means individual differences, लेकिन जब हम उसको एक workplace context में उसकी बात करते हैं, so what we talk about is, yes, we recognize these differences, लेकिन हम इनको accept भी करते हैं, हम इनको celebrate भी करते हैं, और हम इनको include भी करते हैं. इसी वजह से आप देखेंगे कि आपको diversity के साथ inclusion का word बहुत नजर आएगा. So बहुत कम होता है कि खाली diversity की बात की जाए. It's always diversity and inclusion. So it's not just about having this diverse group of people working with you, but it's celebrating them and it's including them. That's the definition that I can elaborate on. जब हम बात करते हैं कि the types of diversity, so there are some very obvious things. For example, आपका जो है ethnicity आपका gender जो है, that's very visible. जो है आपकी जो है in some times आपकी religion भी जो है visible हो जाता है. So for example, जो ladies हैं वो hijab पहनती हैं, जो है ये अबाया पहनती हैं, so they clearly you know कि इनका क्या religious background क्या है इनका. जो invisible forms of diversity है वो आपके हो जाते हैं आपकी thought processes. ठीक है, आपके core values क्या हैं आपके as an individual, what's important to you, आपकी जो upbringing से related जो आपके जो biases हैं, ये सारी जो होती हैं ये invisible डाइवर्सिटी होती है. विजिबल में आपका स्किल सेट भी आ जाती है, आपकी क्वालिफिकेशन, आपकी कैपेबिलिटी भी विजिबल आ जाती है, बिकॉज उसमें जो है देयर इज एविडेंस फॉर दैट. सो दिस इज these are the types of diversity. जब हम वर्क प्लेस के बारे में सोचते हैं तो ये वेरिएबल्स हैं या ये एलिमेंट्स हैं ऑफ डाइवर्सिटी.
वेरी गुड, वेरी वेल एक्सप्लेन. मैं शुरू में सोच रहा था थोड़ी सी डाइवर्सिटी की एग्जाम्पल या डेफिनेशन दूं, लेकिन अच्छा किया मैंने नहीं दिया क्योंकि मेरा समझाया हुआ शायद समझ नहीं आता. दैट्स अ ग्रेट आंसर, थैंक यू सो मच. ऑपरेशंस की तरफ जाते हैं. सोहेल, माय नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन टू यू. What are the example of transactional challenges, teams issues or relationship misunderstandings may occur at work because of that diversity difference? मैं पाकिस्तान से हूँ, कोई यूके से है, हम जो बात करते हैं it's completely different. हमारे लिए वो एक मजाक होता है, दूसरे कम्युनिटीज में वो मजाक नहीं लिया जाता. सिमिलरली कोई वहां पर कुछ और उनका कल्चर होता है. एंड how can you overcome these or challenges?
No, thank you, Hamad. देखिए, जैसे डॉक्टर साहब ने बोला, we can champion diversity and inclusion, but as leaders we have to acknowledge उसके साथ challenges भी आते हैं. You know, I know that there's a big drive for diversity and inclusion. Particularly जो events इस साल भी हुए और pandemic के साथ भी, you know, it's become quite a lonely place. People have become insular, so it's really important that we do champion it. But also as leaders, it's important to acknowledge the challenges. तो आप बिल्कुल सही बोल रहे हैं, there are challenges. I mean, in terms of team issues, आप देखें जैसे आपने बोला dynamic काफी different हो जाता है, और एक चीज वो it's a benefit as well. उसी dynamism से innovation पड़ती है, creativity आती है. We come from different backgrounds, we come from different moral upbringings, behaviors. So we have to let go of those stereotypes. Yes, I'll talk about a few stereotypes. I'm sure we'll laugh about them, but they're very easy to do, right? You know, I may have a difficult statistical piece of work to do, and I have someone from an Asian culture. I'm assuming this person will be really good at maths. Well, actually, I may have a very capable gentleman from or a female from America who's very good. Well, opposite, you know, we have this thing of Americans being very confident, whereas actually we may have someone who's very confident, who's a UAE national, for example. So it's important to let go of these. So your point around team issues, if we don't acknowledge these become problems. तो वही हो जाता है ना कि सुहेल को ये काम क्यों मिलता रहता है, मुझे नहीं मिलता, मुझे अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलती है चीज में. तो असल में ये आप डिवीजन बना सकते हैं टीम में, और उसमें फिर प्रोडक्टिविटी, मोरल, इट्स ऑल अफेक्टेड. तो ये चीज बड़ी जरूरी है कि अंडरस्टैंड करें, और उसके ऊपर आप एडेड लेयर डाल दें, जैसे अंडरलाइंग प्रेजुडिस के जैसे पाकिस्तानी ऐसे होते हैं, फलां ऐसे होते हैं, वो परसेप्शन आती है, वो आपके द वे यू बीन ब्रॉट अप, जो आपने देखा है, जो आपने सोचा है, उन सारी चीजों पे दे हैव अ सबकॉन्शियस इफेक्ट ऑन यू. And as a leader, आपकी job है इन सबको, these different parts of the wheels, you know, the cogs in the wheel, you got to make them work in sync to be effective, efficient, and most importantly, you know, they're enjoying themselves, so that there isn't limiting factors to this. क्योंकि असल में अगर ये team issues चलते रहें, then you are limiting what you can bring from that team. और खासतौर communication आप देखें, communication is one of the biggest ones, right? I mean, हम देखें, you know, mainly using the form of English, but we also using Urdu, very common practice amongst Pakistanis. Now, in some places, we will lose people if we just continue in English, or if we continue in Urdu, or at the same time, these language barriers are one. They're an obvious one, going back to visible. But then, you know, I'll talk about it being British Pakistani. Even my northern colleagues in Scotland, I find it hard to understand their English, you know. So it's about me taking the time to understand that and making him understand that. So I think there's a lot of understanding that needs to come from communication. And again, non-verbal as well. Body language, we always talk about body language being so important. Yes, Dr. Saima ne abhi hijab ka bada example acha diya, and we can all relate coming from a Pakistani background. But eye contact is very important in Western culture. Making the eye contact. Whereas in our cultures that can be make people apprehensive. So it's really important that understanding ho, awareness सबसे important चीज है to overcome this. Awareness and most importantly listening and learning. Not every American is confident. Not every Asian is good at maths. So it's about listening and learning.
Great. Thank you so much. Now, Nauman, what are some of the benefit of exposure to diversity for an individual and for a team, and then for the larger organization?
Thank you. The challenge is being the third one after such great insights. It's not going to be an easy answer. So I'll try my best to capture that. Sohail or Simon, I think, have done an amazing analysis of that. Again, and I don't want to double click on the same definition again and again. Like when you talk about the core advantages or the benefits of diversity, the key thing is, it brings a different perspective, right? And more productivity, creativity, more innovation, decision making skills get better, and then and more engagement from that perspective of employees. Now that's one aspect from a benefit perspective, right? Uske baad phir what you can also see is the diversity also encourages the ability to have open discussion rather than a one-way thinking towards a particular approach. Different cultures have different way of doing businesses, right? It opens doors. They think differently, they engage differently, they interact differently, and that always has its core value. So wo ek phir ek dusri advantage aati hai. Now, talking from an individual to team to organization perspective, I think it's a chain effect. At the end of the day, it's all linked in together, right? Ab ek individual jo advantage leta hai from a cross-cultural, diverse team perspective, that impacts his productivity because he is part of the bigger team, which then gives him that support in having that open mentality when he moves out and conducts business at his workplace. So individual to team ho gaya. And then at the same time, a high producing team is going to be impacting the organization's bottom line directly anyway. So it is a chain effect. I think an individual to team to organization and diverse cultures do build great businesses globally, and I think it's a proven fact.
Great. अच्छा, ये जो pandemic चल रहा है, where many businesses are struggling and have to deal with many other important matters to sustain. Diversity की priority कहाँ आएगी? और मेरा ये questions operations से related है, so definitely, Sohail, if you can take that question.
नहीं बिल्कुल आपने सही बोला. I think the pandemic has obviously had a major effect on us. I mean, the good thing is we are now talking about how are we going to overcome this. We are not still amongst it. So alhamdulillah, that's something, that's a positive aspect to it. But businesses need to survive. And only if you have a business that survives will you be able to look at things like diversity, amongst other things. But it goes back to it being part of your core values. Ahmad, अगर organization में पहले COVID से पहले diversity inclusion important नहीं थी, तो hopefully yes, a pandemic will be an instigator, मगर वो solve नहीं करेगा. अगर हम ये बातें पहले नहीं कर रहे थे, तो एकदम से pandemic खत्म होगा, it's not gonna change. So for those companies, yes, I worry because if they weren't thinking about diversity inclusion, they definitely should be. And actually, the challenge for them is how are they going to prioritize that amongst trying to generate sales, revenue, keeping talent, bringing their costs down, which is going to be the challenge. I think the thing is hopefully those companies that have been, and businesses or entrepreneurs that have this, goes back to the moral value, as Dr. Saima said, those morals that you're brought up with, the morals of that organization, the key values. If you had those key values, I would certainly talk about my business and what we've been doing. I think we've been taking the time to reflect, क्योंकि हमारे लिए ये unfortunate time था, मगर fortunate time भी था कि operations चल नहीं रहे थे, So you have time to reflect.
Absolutely.
ये time मुझे लगता है हमने किसी ने वेलकम नहीं किया, मगर उसी में हमें थोड़ा टाइम मिला सोचने के लिए कि मैं देखो कितना भाग रहा हूँ, कितना दौड़ रहा हूँ, पर सोचें हम कहाँ जा रहे हैं, क्या करना चाह रहे हैं. And I think hopefully if businesses are doing that, then there doesn't have to be a compromise in terms of priorities. So a good example I'll give you, we started 2 months ago in our region, just a listen and learn session. We call it listen and learn. It's very much accepting the fact that देखो, I may be responsible for Middle East and Africa, but I'm not the expert in cultures, in beliefs, in understanding of ways of businesses. That's where I rely on my team. And also, that's not just my direct reports. It's my frontline people that are delivering the product and services. So हम कोशिश करते हैं 4-5 को एक Teams या Zoom call पे लाके have an open conversation. Let's learn about each other's ways of working, cultures. आधा घंटे, you learn so much. So my point is, अगर वो moral चीज नहीं है पहले में business में, and is not thinking about it, then it will be a challenge. Otherwise, I think this is a great opportunity to really start these things.
Great. Dr. Saima, आप कुछ ऐड करना चाह रही थी इस पे शायद?
About so I'll just piggyback on what Sohail said, and I think he just a point on उन्होंने बात की है ये core value के हवाले से कि अगर आप for example अगर आपकी organization में diversity and inclusion is not a core value, तो फिर एक tick box exercise बन जाती है. So there are many ways that we can nurture and leverage diversity, लेकिन वो exercises तब तक नहीं, आप उसके rewards नहीं देखोगे या effect नहीं देखोगे जब तक वो across the board ना उसकी importance ना समझी जाए. और core values जो हैं they become shared values employees के लिए. So it's a shared goal. फिर वो सबकी responsibility, अगर आप कहते हो कि जी as an organization we value diversity, it becomes everyone's responsibility, it becomes a shared goal. और उसमें फिर ये होता है कि everyone's working on it, everyone's supporting it. अगर आपका core value है तो आप देखेंगे कि आपके policies में भी जो है diversity, and whether it's equal opportunities, whether it's जो ratio of आपके जो staff and things like that, ये चीजें बहुत important है. Then there are a lot of initiatives that you can take to leverage diversity or to nurture it in an organization. Or living in the UAE, I think it's such automatically we're placed in diverse environments, but are we actually including them? That's the main question. So उसमें भी ये है कि आप देख सकते हैं कि as managers, as senior, Nauman and Sohail are very senior people in their field. उसमें भी they can identify people who are not represented, because inclusion is about कि every voice is heard and every opinion is heard as well. It doesn't mean that you just go with everyone's thought process, but at least listen to people. So उस देख रहे there are ways of doing it. जैसे सुहेल ने बात की पहले कि you can think about allocating tasks. किस तरीके से आप क्या सिर्फ जो है nationality को दे रहे हैं because of that stereotype, they're good in जो है calculations में, they're very good, या कुछ IT के gurus हैं बस ये IT को समझते हैं, and we do have these stereotypes. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
और उसमें एक और चीज ये कि जो अंडर रिप्रेजेंटेड है उनको it's our responsibility कि उनकी visibility बढ़ाई जाए within the organization, because not everyone will be they may be very skilled, very talented, but they don't know the political savviness, they don't have the political savviness to maneuver or to navigate. And I think then as senior managers वो फिर हमारी responsibility बन जाती है कि we provide them that platform to do so.
Right. Nauman, अगर आपके पास मैं दोबारा आऊंगा, which element of diversity is more important to consider? Can you share your experience as how diversity has impacted in your business area, positively in creativity or creating more opportunities?
Right. There elements, though, I think we have spoken about it, multiple elements, like, diversity of age, gender, abilities, ethnicity, social diversity, right? There are multiple elements. Or I think, and personally, I would opt for, the core element is the diversity in abilities, because that sort of surrounds you as an individual, right? When you have a different key abilities, and it's the abilities जिससे हम लोग एक दूसरे से interact करते हैं and so on. Now, there was a research done by Boston Consulting a couple of years ago, published in Forbes, that 19% of the organization's bottom line grow, with diverse leadership. Now, this is a very interesting analysis because at the end of the day, essentially, diversity, just boils down to curiosity, right? It is the antithesis of boredom. Okay, it's just what do I want to explore? I want to interact with people, different nature, cultures, background, and so on. And that it boils down to that aspect. Like at the same time, it brings innovation, creativity, or the management teams in global organizations, which is really diverse management leadership teams, have been able to successfully bring that output. Now, coming down to myself personally, I mean, I feel very proud to see a very culturally diverse team in my organization, in my team, and I feel very proud, and the way they work together, they gel together, the interaction we had. I mean, just this afternoon I came out with a 4-hour virtual review with my whole team. I loved it. It was great, from different people from different backgrounds, and we had a great discussion. We reviewed on business and opportunity and the health of the business. It was great. So this is where it comes down. It's perfectly working well for me, and I'm sure it works for a lot of people. It comes down to the ability of the elements you choose. You need to have a bit of everything. Okay, you'll have to. You can't focus on a particular element. Like at the same time, for me, I think the diversity in abilities of thinking, of being creative, I think it's a win-win.
Right, very very good answer. Actually, हम भी अभी एक फोरम पे थे और उस पे एग्जैक्टली यही था कि हम लोग ऑलमोस्ट अराउंड 108 पीपल थे across the 72 countries, and it was one of the best calls I have ever attended. बहुत ज़्यादा cultural difference था, but it was a great event. अभी मैं कुछ अर्से पहले एक सर्वे भी पढ़ रहा था और बेसिकली ज़्यादातर उसमें ये था कि it's a challenge to make a drive in organization for diversity अगर वो diversify organization नहीं है. तो डॉक्टर साइमा आप जरूर इस क्वेश्चन का ज्यादा अच्छे तरीके से आंसर कर सकेंगे कि how we can educate and train individual to understand and adopt the concept of diversity happily, because it's sometimes it's very difficult कि आप किसी पे directly cultural पे या किसी religion पे बात करें. तो how can you educate to have an open discussion about this topic?
I think इसमें एक बात जो पहले नौमान ने बात की थी communication के हवाले से, that's very important. And सबसे एक बात तो ये है कि coming from a psychological perspective, creating a psychologically safe place is very important. कि people can then express their vulnerabilities and they can say कि भी इस चीज से मैं offend हो रहा हूँ और मैं इस चीज से क्यों offend हो रहा हूँ. And then in response, they get a very जो है ना safe sort of a response, a true and an honest response as well. So creating that safe space for people to understand and give them, because वो एक होता है ना, एक होता है action, एक होता है reaction. So they don't react to what's in front of them. They can step back, they can understand, and then they can act to what's happening with them. So there are many HR consultancies जो आके आपके organization में आके एक they'll do a survey या they'll look of the organization and they will provide strategy देंगे कि जी ये diversity की strategy है. There are many team building exercises that you can do, because it's all about, the thing is हम सब समझते हैं कि हम बहुत non-judgmental हैं, हम सब ये समझते हैं कि हम तो बहुत accepting हैं, हम तो बिल्कुल नहीं, we don't internally roll our eyes ever किसी चीज के ऊपर, but that's not the case, because the way we've grown up, there are some ingrained beliefs हमारे अंदर होती हैं जो they're in our subconscious and हमें भी नहीं उनका पता होता, and so sometimes we're acting on those beliefs without knowing it, intentionally नहीं हम कर रहे होते. So it's all about creating awareness for ourselves and for other people as well. So आप में से बहुत से लोगों ने और जो हमारी audience, I'm sure marks जो personality test है, it's a very popular one used in organizations, और that's quite successfully used ये जो है diversity को promote करने के लिए भी, because उसमें ये है कि you look at your personality preferences and then you understand कि अच्छा अगर मैं इस तरीके से कर रहा हूँ लेकिन ये मेरे साथ एक और nationality का आदमी इस तरीके से कर रहा है, वो मुझे सिर्फ annoy करने के लिए ऐसे नहीं कर रहा. If he's delaying the task, वो deliberate वो जो ना sabotage नहीं कर रहा. But this is his style, this is his way of thinking. So it's more about that. आप बिल्कुल educate कर सकते हैं, बिल्कुल train कर सकते हैं. But then again, it goes back to that core value that people need to believe in it as well, and people need to understand कि इसमें एक benefit है, इसमें एक हमारा फायदा है. I'm blessed कि मुझे ये exposure मिल रहा है, जो है different perspectives का. I'm blessed कि मुझे ये learning experience भी मिल रहा है. And challenges भी होंगे, but there will be some जो है ना kaleidoscope की तरह एक बहुत colorful सा भी एक view आएगा, and I will pick up good elements from that. So there are lots of ways to leverage this and to train people, but I think education is very important, और उसमें open and honest communication बहुत important है. फिर ये है ना कि अगर if I feel included, so I cannot turn around and say आप उसको क्यों include कर रहे हो बीच में, because I am already included and I know how good it feels and I know how happy I am to be included in it's done fairly be more as well.
You want to add about this particular
where you are thinking about diversity, whether
आप
you're
मेरा
an
closing
entrepreneur.
statement ले रहे हैं.
Ji.
Please continue.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just adding there around, making sure you get clarification and making sure you're patient with each other, because diversity is an ongoing journey. Just like you're trying to deliver sales, just like you're trying to deliver the bottom line, diversity is a journey. Not everyone is going to get there in the first instance. So we should be having this conversation, the one we're having now. And inshallah, everyone else will be, I say, conversation karte rahe, make it an important topic, but bilkul wahi, diversity and inclusion. So right now it should be about inclusion.
Great. Nauman, anything from you before
I
I
think
conclude?
मैं आपके closing remarks, I think the only thing I'll close out from my point of view, from my perspective, and it's not only for diversity, it's for any corporate cultures, it's communication. The more you talk, the more you interact. It's people versus people, right? And we're not machine, getting towards machine learning, but again, it's human beings, and we have to interact, we have to talk. That's all I'm going to say.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. It was a pleasure to talk to you about these topics. और हमने आज खाली diversity को cover नहीं किया, inclusion को भी cover किया. Or as Sohail said, that we definitely need to have more patience about every single, not only culture, religious, and countries as well. So thank you so much for this particular session, and would love to have another session with you guys and to learn more about some more topics. Thank you so much.
Thank you, moderation. Thank you, Ahmad. Thank you all.
Thank you for having us. Thank you, Ahmad.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.